Hello, friends and family of First Presbyterian. I hope you're enjoying the sermon series on the stained glass windows. I know I am. I'm really enjoying taking a look at each of those stories as we go through them. We'll do a few right now, then I'll skip for a little bit during Lent, and then we'll come back to them. But this week, we look at one of the more famous stories in the Gospels. It's the story about Mary and Martha and Jesus. Jesus is eating in their home, and Martha's busy going about serving. And in the Greek, by the way, the same word for serving is ministry. I think we're trying to figure out how both of those connect. But anyway, Martha's just too busy to join her sister, and she's a little frustrated with Mary, who is just out in the living room listening to Jesus, just sitting there at his feet listening. Jesus knows all this is going on and says to Martha, "Now, Martha, you are distracted by so many things, but Mary has actually chosen the most important thing, to sit and listen to me, just to be with me." Fred Craddock pointed out that the story of the Good Samaritan immediately follows this story. And then he points out something I've never forgotten. One story basically says, stop going and just be. The other says, don't just be, go. Go be go. One story says, at the point in our life that we are overactive and busy, maybe with ministry. Churches can be busy places filled with busy people doing important things. But from time to time, the first story says, just stop for a minute, be with me, listen to me. And then the Good Samaritan story says, well, it's not enough to simply sit and listen. Just don't sit in the living room the whole time. Don't just sit and worship the whole time. We are also called to go and do likewise, being a good neighbor by helping others. So what is it? Sit and listen or go and do? And I know the answer. The answer is yes, both. There are times and seasons when it's important to stop, to take a Sabbath, maybe every day a little Sabbath. It's important to take time to listen, which is what we do when we stop in our busy lives to read the Bible, to attend worship on the Sabbath, to pray, to read our devotions. Be still and know that I am God, says the scripture. Well, if you're never still, how will you listen to what God has to say? How will you enjoy the presence of God? But there are also times we are called to go and do something. Go about some form of ministry. I think it was St. Francis who said, preach at all times and sometimes use words. So you hear the phrases, walk the talk. Just don't talk about it, walk the talk. Do justice, help the poor, be active in ministry, teach, lead a group. Go and do is also important. Elizabeth O'Connor described these two aspects of faith as the journey inward and the journey outward. I've never forgotten that as I think about my discipleship. I think about, am I on the journey inward or the journey outward? How is the balance? And as I thought about it, there's a connection between the two that I've learned about over the years. In my daily morning devotion, when I take about 20, 30 minutes for Bible study and prayer and meditation and quiet, it is often during that time I get some insights. Sometimes I get a sense of direction of what God may want me to say or to do next. In such times, I discover the particular ministry I'm called to do, or sometimes I'm sort of begin to figure out something I've been puzzling for a while. Sometimes I just get rest. And then there are other times I'm almost burned out from doing so much. And I know it's time to sit and listen, to recharge and to hear God care for my tired soul. And then I'm better prepared to serve God with energy, intelligence, imagination, and love. So I wonder where you lean in your life as a Christian. Is your life more about the journey inward or the journey outward? Are you more Mary or Martha? Let's just take one moment to think about which one best expresses your faith journey. Both are important. Now, if you think you lean only one way, may I suggest it could be time to pay attention to the other aspect of your faith. As I think about my ministry in the church for the past 40 years, I know we've tried to find a balance, but I do have a concern that in these latter years, the church may be much more of a Martha than a Mary, We are all very active. Praise be. We have activities. We're doing many important things. But sometimes I fear we have forgotten why we are so busy. What is the reason? Are we just busy because it's good to do? Or is there something deeper? If you don't remember why, that may be a clue that this is a season when the church might sit next to Mary. Maybe it's time for the church to rest and to listen more, and as we seek to be engaged in ministry. The goal, again, for me at least, is to find the balance between that journey inward and the journey outward. And I can't help but think in a busy and active world, helping people grow their inward lives might be just what people are hungry for these days. There are plenty of activities in this world, but there are not many feeding the soul. So let me close with these gracious words of Jesus. Remember how he said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest." Who knows? Maybe that's exactly what Jesus told Martha on that day when she finally stopped all her activity and, in my mind, joined Mary in the living room with Jesus. May the peace and the love of Christ be yours.